Brilliance Audio presents Warrior Prime by Victor Gischler, performed by Billy Fulford Brown. Chapter 1. The splitting headache was offset somewhat by the woman's soft backside pushing up against him. She snored lightly. When Peyne Erlich tried to sit up, little gnomes inside his head hammered away at the backs of his eyeballs. He groaned and fell back onto his pillow. The woman stirred, but didn't wake. Peyne paused to consider how he'd come to be here. He'd gotten off the ship, and a carriage had been waiting for him. The seaside capital of Feria was a bustling city, and Peyne had been thankful not to have to find the embassy on his own. Upon arriving, he'd been told the ambassador was away. No matter. He was finally off that cramped ship, with a new city to explore, and there was no bad time for a goblet of wine. He'd found himself in the expatriate quarter, where merchants and dignitaries from other lands congregated. Peyne had found a tavern, full of men and women from Helva, and while he did want to explore this strange and exotic city, there'd been some relief to being able to order a drink without having to wrestle with a different language. He'd struck up a conversation with a merchant woman who was bringing Clarion lumber from the evergreen forests in the north to trade for Ferian spices and silks. Odd that he could remember that, but not her name. Peyne had reached the halfway point in his 20s, and the woman was at least a decade older, but her raw sexual aggression had enticed him, and she curved in all the right places, and her room was conveniently just upstairs. And she hadn't been some tittering, blushing virgin. She'd known what she'd wanted, and had made her expectations clear. Peyne had been hard-pressed to keep up with her. Whatever her name was. Peyne decided he was in no condition to attempt moving again. He rolled over, shut his eyes. Then the pounding. Peyne put his hands over his eyes and groaned. At first he thought the pounding came from inside his head, but then he realized somebody was banging on the door. The woman stirred next to him. "Stop that bloody racket and fuck off!" She pulled the blankets over her head. Peyne raised an eyebrow. Well then. The pounding on the door grew more insistent, and a voice on the other side said, "Lord Erlich, your presence at the embassy is required immediately." Peyne thought he recognized the voice of the persnickety little deputy. "Mullen?" "Yes, the ambassador has men combing the city for you." Peyne groaned. "I just got here. What could be so urgent so soon? Nevertheless, if you could come with me." "For the love of Jumo!" the woman shouted from beneath the covers. "If you know this man, then just go. I'm trying to sleep." One moment. Peyne heroically rose from the bed, brain throbbing with redoubled savagery. He circled the room, collecting his clothes. Tunic, doublet, breeches. He had to crawl under the bed for one of his boots. He dressed hastily, turned to the lump under the bedcovers. "Madam, unfortunately, as you've heard, I've been called away, but I wanted to assure you it's been a profound pleasure." "Just go." "Ah. But I just got here." Peyne held both sides of his head, trying not to groan. He sat at a table with Ambassador Corrick on the embassy's upper veranda. The ambassador sipped tea, a local brew, strong with an aroma of citrus. "These things happen." Corrick sipped again. "I'd hoped to see something of the city, after coming all this way," Peyne said. "I think you saw quite enough last night," Corrick said. "The expatriate quarter," Peyne corrected. "I didn't even meet any Ferians." "Nevertheless," insisted the ambassador. Mullen arrived and handed Peyne a cup filled with some sour-smelling liquid. "One of the old women who works in the kitchens says this will help. Some home-brew concoction." Peyne sniffed the drink, grimaced. "Is it safe?" Mullen shrugged. "I doubt it could make you feel any worse." A fair point. "Don't sip," Mullen told him. "You're supposed to guzzle it all in one go."